High Court today has questioned why there were zero convictions in cases of manual scavenging despite a 2013 act against this legally prohibited practice. I say legally because in reality this still happens across India. During the oral observation, division bench of High Court that had taken up this case suo moto also said that the makers of the constitution will shiver in their graves with the things we are doing today. The bench was led by P.B. Varale as well as C.J. Krishna Dikshit and observed that the centre has to form a mechanism that replaces manual scavenging. The matter is now set to be heard on January 30th. And I'm being joined at this point by Joseph Hoover. Mr. Joseph, would you be able to explain to us why are there no convictions under the 2013 Act, something that the court has asked?
If you go by what has happened, despite the Act being present in 2013, they still had manual laborers engaged until about 2018, and now we are seeing the number of deaths that have happened. I mean, first of all, we should thank the High Court of Karnataka to come up with such an order. I mean, we are waiting for January 30th because this contempt business is huge. There's an ocean of contempt in our country. If I talk about from the perspective of Karnataka, the number of people who have died because of scavenging death, I mean, cleaning the gutters and septic tanks has been increasing. And the government knew about it. The government agencies knew about it, especially the BBMP, what we call the government agency. They knew very well what was happening.
So what is the problem, sir? What is the problem?
That,
I mean, why, if cases are increasing, if there is an act, what is the problem? Why aren't convictions happening? I mean, is it because the law is not being enforced? It is because if a case is registered, it is not followed up? Is it because it is falling apart in courts? What is the reason?
In all three, whatever questions you've asked, I would say yes to all three, because when there is a judgment, when there is a order from the court, it's not followed in the right sense at all, in the right spirit. The government takes it very lightly and they repeat it over and over again. And I would suggest, I mean, I'm too small to suggest, but I would say that the court now should have a committee overseeing these contempt cases, because there are so many. It's not just this manual scavenging. You take the lake issue, you take the forest issues. There are Supreme Court orders, there are High Court orders, that despite that, they continue to have contempt in that. So here we have to blame the government squarely. And I would not only blame the government, I would blame the bureaucrats. They are responsible. They are the ones educated. They are the ones supposed to educate.
I mean, we have entered 2024. We have entered 2024, but if you look at 2023, could you give us a sense in India, when you talk about manual scavenging, what's the kind of percentage rise that we have been looking at?
I mean, from looking at this thing, it has reduced to some extent. It has reduced in Karnataka. But if you look at the number of deaths, even in 2023, December, we had 2 deaths. And what has the Karnataka government done about it? What have the government agencies done about it? They just go about saying nothing in the world is going to disturb them. It's only a court order and we'll do what we are doing. So we are very happy that the High Court has come up with such a wrapping decision today, and where they're saying that these guys have to be held responsible for that. That's fantastic. This is something that we need to celebrate. But look at the way the manual scavenging continues. There are high-rise societies, buildings in Bangalore, huge societies, they call them.
Right.
They still use them. They should have their own STP sewage treatment plant established. They should be having all these methods to ensure that this does not repeat. But despite that, there are big builders involved in this who still absorb and employ these manual scavengers to come and clean up their septic tanks. So this has to even go to the people, because it's the people who make the mistake and the government takes all the blame. So we are all in this to be blamed. And the way forward is, I would suggest, as I said earlier, though I'm a small guy, saying that we should have a committee overseeing all these decisions by the court. Everywhere the court has come up with a decision saying that this cannot be done and this should be followed. Somebody should be monitoring that. That's unfortunately
Right.
not happening. So probably the High
All right.
Court on when they
Okay.
give the decision on 30th, the next hearing is there. They should suggest to the government that they should have a committee. And if that committee does not follow what the
Right.
court orders are, they should be reprimanded and put in jail. There's no two ways about that. Because the number of deaths, if you look at it, we are talking about
All right.
90 people
Thank you
dying
very
because
much,
of.
Doctor. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We're totally out of time, but thank you for bringing in your perspective here. Very, very important issue before India. While we are trying to become, and we are a global power to reckon with, the fact remains this also is a reality where people in urban and rural spaces still resort to manual scavenging to clear your and my waste. This should not be acceptable in our India. At least the court making some very strong observations. Time for a short break. On the other side,